Okay, so the next comment is from Chaos. Chaos says, "Hey, Paul, I want to thank you so much for offering me a tremendous amount of insight into the deeper meanings upon things that go about unseen in our day-to-day lives." That's exactly what I'm talking about. I couldn't have possibly cobbled these comments together any better. I promise I just went through and just started grabbing comments and put them up. So Chaos continues, "I have learned a lot under your guidance and continue to learn more on my own." That's the key, my friend. Thank you. Learn more on your own. We all need some kind of like guidance. We all need someone who has a. So the thing is, Chaos, we're all time travelers. I just happened, chances are I've been on this time travel journey. I started before you did. And so I've collected more information and I've had more time to sort out the BS from the really helpful stuff. And I've been trying to share the more helpful stuff with people. And, I've had experiences in my life where I go, well, that's not good, or I made that mistake. And, that's kind of what it's all about is us folks who have been time traveling a little bit longer than the others. Well, us senior time travelers want to impart some of the life lessons that we've learned to you less seasoned time travelers so that you don't have to make the same mistakes, right? So Chaos continues, "I have learned a lot under your guidance and continue to learn more on my own, and to try to further this knowledge as best as possible onto others." And that's exactly the life process, or at least that's one of the, in my mind and in my heart, I feel as if one of the most enriching life processes that you can do is, first of all, to step directly into experience. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's a given. That's a guarantee that you're going to make mistakes. But it's also a guarantee it's the best way to learn. I've made so many mistakes in my life, but I've learned so much after getting up, dusting myself off, and going, okay, what's next? What's next? How do I go from here? What do I do from here? What's next? What's next? Right? And having and I talk about this a lot, having a daily practice, daily, weekly, regular practice. There are so many. There's just so much that you can just build upon yourself every day, week after week, month after month, year after year, until you become a person that you just, it's going to sound so ridiculous, but you want to build this person, because you have to live in this body, right? I have to live in this psyche. I have to live in this body. I have to live in this emotional state. And you want to do stuff every day, little things. You can't do it all at once. But, for example, and I've gone through several iterations of this, but it's been a year. It's been a full year since I radically changed my diet, cut out all sugar, all carbs. I made 2 videos about it last year, or actually earlier this year, and I feel so much better. I have so much more energy. My clarity in my thought processes has just improved so much, and I feel my mood has improved. I just feel so good from day to day. I just feel so good. And it just started by abstaining from a certain thing, of abstaining from certain foods, and then building myself. And now I've developed a habit over the past year where, there's a window in which I eat. I don't eat carbs, don't eat sugar. And I've lost a lot of weight. I weigh the same that I have the same weight now in my 40s that I did when I was 25. And I realized, I looked, to most people my age, I look different, and I just seem different, because I seem a little bit, I guess in a way, more youthful, in a sense. But and I'm not just talking about like your diet, but that is a very important thing. But there's all sorts of things to think about in terms of building yourself up, and you don't have to just crush it every single day. You just do a little bit each day, or you set a goal for yourself and you say every day I'm going to do this one thing, or I'm going to not do this one thing, whatever. Maybe you're doing, maybe you're drinking sodas every day and you go, you know what, i'm going to not drink sodas every day. And you look back 3, 6, 9, 12 months and you go, wow, look how much my health has improved just from these small practices. So having a daily practice, having a weekly practice, and treating it like a spiritual sort of thing is also really important. So there's a lot to be said about that, and there's many different pathways you can take. You have to figure out which ones work best for you. I'm a huge fan of Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee would always talk about being like water, and this idea that what appeals to you as far as taking the intuitive path that appeals most to you, that builds you up and makes you stronger every day, is the most important. It's not trying to be like someone else. It's not, if you're painting by numbers and you're trying to be like this guy or this girl or this person, you'll never be able to replicate that anyway. Just be who you are. You'll be able to take little bits and pieces from everybody, from myself and from other people's influences. Take all of that, put that into yourself, introspect, and then build just a little bit every single day. You don't have to completely kill yourself. And one last thing. So I'm on a spiritual level, and as far as like occult teachings and spirituality and that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm just I'm a blue belt. Okay. Find a black belt. You can learn, and you can learn from everybody, right? You can learn from white belts. You can learn from blue belts. You can learn from brown belts and black belts and that kind of stuff. One practice that I'm involved in, and it can be hard for me sometimes because I've had some previous injuries from some sports injuries and stuff with the neck and shoulder issues. But I do. For the past couple years, we've been involved in a weekly practice of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'd say in the past couple months, I've had some more issues that I've had to kind of ease back on that. But, for me, one ascendant master that I follow is Rickson Gracie. And the way he teaches Jiu-Jitsu is just the highest possible level. But he calls it invisible Jiu-Jitsu. So invisible Jiu-Jitsu just speaks to me perfectly, because, it's like, it's occulted stuff. I mean, he's talking about the hidden stuff that you don't see, that once you get connected, he talks about being connected with your invisible Jiu-Jitsu and all this stuff. It's like really kind of esoteric, right? It's just right up my alley. So the point is, you find the speaker, or you find the teacher who speaks to you. You find the teacher who speaks your language, or who can really get through to you, that kind of lights up the heart mind, right? When you feel this kind of like, and you can feel this energy coming from the gut through the heart into the mind, and it kind of goes and it oscillates between, right in the center, like almost like up and down your spine, like the chakras, for example. Although I don't really know how to explain it, and I'm not going to use any common terms. I just feel this. I feel like when a teacher is speaking to me, or I'm learning the lesson, if something is lighting up in the heart mind, and I'm feeling like, yes, this feels good, I understand it in a clear logical sense, I feel it in an emotional sense, and instinctually in my gut, I know what this teacher is saying is true. If all that stuff lines up, okay, the mind, the heart, and the gut, okay, when all those three things line up under some sort of instruction, under some situation, then I know, yes, this is the way for me. This works for me, right? If there's some kind of conflict, right, then okay, I need to sit down, introspect, and figure out what's the disconnect here. Okay, so let your gut, let your heart, let your mind be the guide, but don't try to do everything in the mind. They want you so badly to they want to confuse you and befuddle you up here, and so much so that you'll forget about your heart, you'll forget about your gut. Okay, don't forget about all three of those things. I've talked about the threefold aspect of humanity before, and I'll talk about it again in future videos, I'm sure. But that's something you definitely remember. You don't just exist up here. You're not just a head. Even if you're on the internet all day and you don't really have a lot of physical activity right now, and you don't go out and interact and do that kind of stuff, because that's very common these days. Even if you're just, your existence is like here and here. You want food, and maybe in your groin you want some activity, right? And then you have but otherwise you exist here and you exist down here, and that's it. Just know that there's something between those points, and there's right, there's the heart and the gut, and the gut's really important too. So we have to remember that there's this not only can something appeal to us intellectually, but we really have to feel that in the gut, and also feel that in the heart. So there's these three aspects of us acting together. So chaos, that's essentially your guide. If you're on the right path, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel energized by that. You're going to have clarity in your thinking about that. So those three things are going to line up for you. So thank you so much for your comment. Okay. Next comment comes from Mr. Sam Jacks, and he says, the greatest Silent Hill channel on YouTube. So I appreciate that. And like I said, I don't know if it's the greatest Silent Hill channel, and I don't know how to quantify greatest. It doesn't really matter to me. What matters is how deeply can I understand something, and how deeply can I use that to understand myself. And so if you go into if you study something, and whoever the teacher is, if they speak to you really well, then yeah, subjectively for you, this is the greatest Silent Hill channel on YouTube because of what you've learned. That's what makes it great. Not the numbers, not, this video has 10 million views and da, 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 da. Views don't really translate. You can have viewers, but maybe you don't have students, right? You can have a lot of followers, you can have a lot of subscribers, but very few students or no students. There's a lot of channels out there, a lot of very big channels that have viewers, they have subscribers, but they don't have learners. They don't really have students because there's nothing really to offer. Once you click on the next video, you don't take what was said any further than maybe showing your friend, hey, check out this video, look at this funny thing. But the videos that impact me the most on YouTube are typically the ones where I'm just driving, or driving down the road and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, gosh, and then I make some sort of connection with the trajectory of my life or my relationships and that kind of thing. So, Mr. Sam Jacks, thank you for your comment. I shouldn't have this much energy so late in the day, by the way, especially at my age, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Another comment from Maury Animation, and this is from the What is the Occult, a recent video. Maury says, you were my entry into learning to understand the occult. As a Christian, it had a huge negative connotation, but you've illuminated it for me, and now I know more. I no longer have terrors and night panics over perceived evil because I no longer fear it as unknown. It's been a huge help into knowing this supernatural world we live in. So, Maury, thank you for your comment. There's quite a lot to unpack there. Yeah, so we all kind of understand that at least those of us who've really studied the occult, we understand that there's this kind of plenum, or this middle ground of just existence. There's this middle ground of being, and then in as far as what it means to be human, one integral aspect of being human in this objective reality is our intention. What is our intention, right? Are we our intention can go go in one direction or the other. We can go towards self or other. We can intention. It's really comes down to intention when you're talking about the difference between good and evil. And so that's a huge thing to unpack. But I get a lot of negative feedback from Christians that are still under the programming that occult means evil. Occult means, occult just means invisible, or to me anyway. I'm just going to say what it means to me. Occult, of course, objectively in Latin means hidden or to conceal. But to me, something that's occulted is just, well, what's happening behind the scenes? What are the things that I'm not, that aren't appearing to me visually or aren't meeting my senses immediately? What are those things behind the senses? What are the metaphysical aspects that give rise to the senses? The metaphysical aspects that give rise to what it is that we detect with our five senses, right? That's really what occult is to me. Now, occult, in that respect, it can be a dark thing. It can be an evil thing, but it doesn't have to be, right? Darkness is not evil inherently, right? Death is not evil inherently. Death is just a part of life. There's a lot of misconceptions, and so the thing we introspective types want to try to combat, or want to try to, we want to try to communicate to people that are, I guess, programmed, is that, if I control the language, I get to control your thinking. And that's not what I want in the world at all, right? I don't want people to think, some sort of, there's so many loaded terms and phrases, and occult's one of them. And I love to use the term occult because it really, it definitely gets people's attention. I'll tell you that. But for me, it doesn't have the same impact. Now I realize it has an impact on people, and that's in large part, that's why I use the term, is because it opens up a conversation. There's a lot of words like that. But occult is the sort of term that once you get past the Christian definition of, or the Hollywood definition. The Hollywood definition is also sort of it also comes out of the Christian definition, which is, anything having to do with darkness is evil. Now, I'll tell you that anything that's occulted that has an intention to cause harm or destruction, that's evil, period. End of sentence. So, Christians and people that study occult science in earnest, that understand the dynamic of intention, and believe, as I do, that there is an objective. There is objective morality. There is 100%. If your intentions can be good or evil, period. Okay, it's not. Moral relativism has no place in my occult study. I understand that there are plenty of others that really would disagree with that. There are occultists that are in love with this idea that, the reality is, according to them, that there is no objective. There's no objective morality, or there's no. What one person's evil is another person's good, sort of thing. I don't believe that. that never made sense to me. And, if it makes sense to those people, let's put them all together on an island where there's no rule of law whatsoever, and it's just anarchy and chaos, and what you think is good, this person thinks is evil. Why don't you guys try to figure it out together and see if you can live together? See how long that society lasts, if you think that's the way. Good luck with that. So you have to understand that there's a lot of, in Christianity, that's a very real sentiment that I obviously respect, is that there is a rule of law, there's God's law, there is undoubtedly there's a difference between right and wrong, and it's not difficult to understand that. And so, so I'm not some moral relativist at all. So don't get that twisted. Just because I use the term occult, and I might use some imagery here and there that like Levi's Baphomet, or that kind of thing. Yeah, it's don't get it twisted. So thank you so much for your comment, Maury. See if there's anything else to really. Oh, and so you had terrors and night panics of over perceived evil. Yeah, just I think we're probably on the same page though, as far as there is evil in the world. Don't get it twisted. We're in a spiritual war right now, 100%. However, I guess the difference between an occultist and, let's say, a Christian, an occultist and a Christian, I think, have a lot more in common than, and the Christians don't realize how much they have in common with occultists. It's the main difference, I think. As an occultist, I was raised in a Christian cult, but I'll say that what I have in common is that I see everything just as Christians do. I see just about everything through a spiritual lens. Okay, I see this world as being created by God. I can't define God. I don't. I don't think that. I don't think that God is going to conform to man's understanding of God, of what God is, through the Bible or through anything like that. I think the Bible is an important text, but I think that the reality of what God is so much greater than what we could possibly comprehend. So that gets into the Kabbalah and that kind of stuff. So I think that there's some value in religion to a point, but then for someone like, now listen, a lot of people need religion, and they're not going to be as introspective. They're not going to be it's not to say that a structure isn't important, because I believe a structure is very important, and a religious structure is very important, but it's not for everyone, period. It's just not. You can be a perfectly moral person. You can be a good person. You'll never be perfect, whether you're religious or just spiritual or atheist or whatever. You'll never be a perfect person, but you can be a good person and not be religious and still be spiritual. You don't have to be in this group. You don't have to join Team Red or Team Blue or Team Green and, do what, if you do exactly this, you're going to go to heaven. That is complete nonsense. Just get off of it. That's nonsense. I mean, what religion does God officially endorse? I mean, your religion, right? What religion does Jesus officially endorse, or Krishna or whatever? That's just nonsense. That's utter nonsense. So I just wanted to make that point clear. You can be a morally righteous person. You'll never be perfect, but you can be a good person, and you don't have to be religious, okay? And I think it is important to try to be the best person you can, because, we need good, moral, spiritual people these days. And the better you try to be, and it's not about being obedient to some system, to some rule set necessarily. It's just a matter of recognizing natural law. It's a matter of recognizing human morality. It's, we may have our differences regionally or culturally with certain things. Again, we're not perfect, but we try to do the best we can. You know, the Ten Commandments is a great place to start, right? The Noahide laws is a great place to start. But if you get bogged down in all the minutia of any sort of system, then in my mind, it becomes overly complicated, and the only reason to do that is when you have people that just need to be told, and there's going to be plenty of people that need to be told what to do. And I'm not saying that I'm above the law because I don't. I'm above religion because I don't need to be told what to do. But if you follow your gut, you follow your conscience, and you really tune into the spiritual sense of the world, and you just listen to God. God will tell you. It's not something that you have to go to this religious institution or that one in order to receive the message. Okay, the message is freely available as long as you're tuning into it. Okay, so Maury, thank you for that's your second comment. So thank you for that, sir.